I call the Monday, June 17, 2024 meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors to order. Mr. Bartow.
I move we convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2 3711A and 2.2 3712. The purpose of this closed session is under Virginia Code 2.2 3711A and subsections 5, 7, and 8. 5, discussion concerning prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. Number 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation or litigating posture of the public body. And number 8, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provisions of legal advice by such counsel.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. We go into closed session. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're in closed session.
Here we are. We cold.
Back to order.
Mr. Chairman, move we go back into open session.
Properly moved and second, we go back into open session. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're back into open session. I will now poll members to certify that to the best of your knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and is identified in the motion for which closed meeting was convened were discussed and considered by the board. If any member believes that the board varied from the purposes stated for the closed meeting, please state so and the reason prior to casting a vote. Mr. McCotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Barlow?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
All right, we're back into open session. This is the June 17, 2024 meeting of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to welcome those of you who are in the public meeting room with us this evening, and those who are watching us online. We will start this meeting, as we do every meeting, with the invocation, which will be led by Mr. Williams tonight, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for loving us and thank you for making us a way to get to heaven through the blood of your Son, Jesus Christ, Father. As we go through the business here tonight, Father, may it be pleasing to you and may we serve the citizens of Louisa well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item is the adoption of the agenda. Mr. Williams?
Mr. Chairman, a couple things.
Lucky you.
To move the resolution authorizing a budget supplement for the 2024 for the Broadband Initiative Capital Project from the consent agenda to the new business action items. A couple of additions, a resolution under new business action items, there's three of them here. A resolution authorizing a fiscal year 2024 budget supplement for Louisa County Public Schools. Number two is a resolution on a motion to reconsider action taken on June 3rd, 2024 to amend Chapter 86 Land Development Regulations, Utility Scale Solar Generation, Total Land Area. And number three, which is part of number two, second part, if that passes, to amend Section 8645 to reduce the total approved utility scale solar generation facilities not to exceed 2%, 6,343 acres of the total county acreage.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I'd like to also add, change the dates of December meeting.
All right, we have, I think we have a summer schedule, so we can look at it under there. All right, thank you, sir.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we adopt the agenda. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'm sorry, of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded, we approve the bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is public comment. I do have some cards. So when I call your name, we do have two public hearings tonight. So if you're here to talk about authorizing a sale of public property or proposed amendments to the transit occupancy tax, you'll need to wait for the public hearing. But other than that, this is your opportunity to discuss to the board anything that is not a public hearing. When I call your name, give your name and your voting district. You'll have 3 minutes. I will give you a warning when you have 15 seconds left. The first card is Vicky Hart. I even know where to look for you.
You get to go first, instead of last.
First or last, doesn't matter. Vicki Hart, Town of Louisa, voting district. I have several things I'd like to talk to you about today. The first one I want to tell you is that one of my American Heritage girls, who is a student at Louisa County High School, won the state VFW art contest and is now going to nationals.
Congratulations.
So Louisa County actually is going to nationals. I would like to talk about property rights. I'm happy that You spoke a lot about the rights of individuals with property when you talked about the reduction in solar. What I'm not happy about is nowheres did anybody discuss the effects of those downstream that are, land is being devastated and their property rights stand for nothing. Until we put something in our budget for infrastructure to resolve the damage we've already done, why are we continuing to create more damage? And I'm also curious as to whether a class action lawsuit can be brought against the county by all of these property owners. As I now am aware of several property owners that have had to buy boats to manually get themselves out of their houses in 2022. 2023, we know, was a drought year, so we can't say we fixed it because there was no flooding last year. Next subject, water billing. As a resident of the town of Louisa, we are 40% of the water bill, and having an increase not only increases our water bill, but the amount that will go to pay for this Lake Anna structure that we purchased should be bought by the county, not by the town of Mineral and the town of Louisa in our water bill. We are already raising ours. We'd get absolutely zero benefit from that project up there. My next is, as a chemist, I would like to know if the HAB treatment's already been initiated, and if it has, what chemical it was, because it may have contributed to the E. coli breakout on Lake Anna. I do have a chemistry degree to add to the list, by the way. And that was it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, normally we don't reply back, but I'm going to reply back to two things you said. The wastewater treatment facility at Lake Anna is being paid in cash, so it has nothing to do with the water authority.
Or your bill.
Or your bill. And secondly, the lake has been tested 4 times, 3 consecutive weeks. There's no indication that there was an E. coli outbreak at Lake Anna. The health department does know there were people that have E. coli, but there has been no outbreak at Lake Anna. So there's enough misinformation on social media about that. I don't want it to emanate from this room. Lynn Kogel. Lynn?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
minutes.
supervisors, and staff.
She has
I'm Lynn
five.
Kogel
Hold on,
from the
hold on.
Mineral
Lynn,
District.
hold on a minute.
She's 5
She's representing an organization. Let me give you 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lynn Kogel from the Mineral District, and yes, I'm here to provide you with information on the Louisa Housing and Homeless Coalition, for which Reverend Laura Cable and I are the co-chairs. You may recall that back in March 18th Board of Supervisors meeting, we provided a basic overview of the coalition work. Last Thursday, I emailed to each of you our completed assessment of housing needs with a focus on homelessness, and hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at that. We have done a lot of work this past year, sort of looking at what other organizations do around us, what we think the needs are here, doing a pit study in January to try to identify homeless folks and so on. Is it a huge number? Is it a crisis? Only if you're one of those people. So that's always something to keep in mind.
Fair answer.
But last year, we calculated that we contributed about 3,100 hours that were donated by the volunteers that were working on the project, which is about a value of $103,000 to the county. So we do figure with using volunteers, we're trying to save you money so far. As a reminder, the coalition's mission is to collaborate with nonprofits, faith-based community, businesses, and local government to increase affordable housing and reduce homelessness in Louisa County. We've now formed some subcommittees to begin implementing some of the projects that we believe will positively impact local homeless folks. The primary thing is that we're planning a winter sheltering program called Louisa Pacham, and that is for people and congregations engaged in ministry. It's based on an existing model in Charlottesville that, in a big city, works very well. So we're hoping that it will work well here on a smaller level. Churches will provide overnight shelter and dinner during the coldest months of the year. Showering facilities will be available at the Betty Queen Center, and transportation is another one of our big considerations. We've started publishing a monthly newsletter in an attempt to better communicate our efforts with the public, churches, nonprofits, and government groups, and folks like yourselves. We know that volunteers will be needed for a lot of this effort, and we're hoping that the new Volunteering Louisa program that the Resource Council is leading, working with them, will assist us with that effort. The existing nonprofit organization, Louisa Community Emergency Fund, which I'm involved with also, has agreed to adopt the Housing Coalition as one of our programs. The reason we're doing this is that way we've got a nonprofit umbrella organization that can sponsor grants and help get funding for the coalition. The shelters will obviously need some basic supplies like cots and mats and things like that. If the county happens to have some of those items to share, that's something that we would love to chat with you all about. We've met with the Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation several times and agree that some of their plans in helping local residents find and keep affordable housing is a desired long-term permanent solution, not just for residents that already have a home, but homeless folks as well. There's a domino effect there with bringing people into certain homes and communities that opens up housing for others to be able to afford it. So we greatly appreciate all that the Housing Foundation is working on. Also, I want to personally thank, and I know Laura joins me in this, Supervisor Barnes for his suggestion at the June 3rd meeting of looking into the Affordable Housing Land Trust. We think that's a real positive step, and I know that you all tasked county staff with looking into that, so we greatly appreciate that. So what are we looking for from you all? Looking for you to be agreeable to ongoing discussions to talk about how we can help homeless, how we can in fact impact affordable housing. What things can we do moving forward to make this county even better than it already is? We know that like those of us that are volunteering and the organizations that have been involved with our coalition, that everybody wants to make it the best place it can be. So we hope that you will be agreeable to discussions with us in the future, especially as we prepare for next year's budget, because you never know where we can work together. So thanks for your time. If you have any questions, please contact Lynn Kogel or Laura Cable, and we'd be happy to talk more with you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Scott, get me back to 3, please. Dan Tomlinson. Dan Tomlinson. Dan?
You're going to have to help me through this a little bit, I'm afraid. My name is Dan Tomlinson. I'm here today because there are a group of us who I thought would be here as well and aren't.
Even though I already know, Dan, for the record, Dan Tomlinson, Mineral District.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mineral District.
Yes, sir.
Okay, starting fresh. We are a group of people who are interested in bringing the aquatic facility here in Louisa up to the standards that the now much larger population in the county of Louisa requires in order to continue to make it a place where people can get exercise, make new friends in my case. I am participating in activities at a lot of different levels, including teaching people to swim, for example, getting kids participating, et cetera, et cetera. I understand that there has been a budget or budgetary request that's been in place for something on the order of a decade, I believe, perhaps more, to make improvements to the aquatic center here at the Betty Queen Center. We'd like to light a fire under that. We would very much like to meet with whoever you recommend that can come forward and assist us in working through the process of supporting this initiative along with all the others that you have to. And we'd very much like to pitch in and make a team effort to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tomlinson.
I don't know that they're here.
All right, we've received some comments online. I think they just want these read into the minutes, but I'll see if they're here. Andrew Briggs? All right, we have received a letter about the aquatic facility, so we'll read that in. That will go into the official minutes.
At the bottom.
Oh, Jennifer Christian.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I see you now. Couldn't find your name. Yes, come up.
I'll circle them for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chairman. There you go.
I know some of you know me, but Jennifer Christian, Mineral District. I'm actually here speaking about the same concern. So I'm representing swimmers in Louisa County. I've taken up lap swimming personally this year with the goal of participating in one of the many triathlons that our county, not our county hosts, but within our county each year. Throughout the year, I've been driving an hour to the YMCA in Charlottesville to practice swimming. I know that many swimmers, I think Dan is one, have been doing that as well. A group of us lap swimmers have met with Parks and Rec in the past couple of weeks in order to secure a time once a week for a dedicated lap swimming at the Louisa Pool. And while we really appreciate their efforts to accommodate lap swimming this summer, they are faced with a very challenging task of trying to find space in the existing pool for numerous competing demands. In addition to lap swimming myself, my sons both compete on the Louisa Gator swim team. With almost 150 swimmers this year, the kids are crammed 5 or more swimmers per lane during their practices, even after they're splitting those into 3 different practice times throughout the day. On several occasions this year already, the team has been required to end their practices earlier than scheduled due to competing demands for the pool. The kids are at the pool at 7:15 each morning and don't end their last practice until 9:45 in the evening. Our current aquatic facilities were constructed almost 20 years ago and cannot meet the current demand from our community, given its continuous growth. There is no alternative in our county for swimmers, and most of us must drive that 45 minutes or an hour to get to the closest facility. In addition to the inconvenience, this leads our Louisa County citizens to invest our hard-earned dollars into the economies of surrounding counties. With one of the largest lakes in the state of Virginia in our county and several other bodies of water and the ocean within a few hours of us, water safety and lifeguard-supported swimming lessons are vitally important to our citizens. The wait list for swimming lessons has nearly 100 youth on it, and Aquafit, which has expanded to using the entire large pool this year, still has a wait list of 8 adults as well. As our county continues to grow, the demand will only continue to increase. It is my understanding, as Dan mentioned, that an indoor aquatic facility has been planned for around a decade and that 60% of those funds have already been raised. As a group of swimmers from all walks of life, we're asking that the Board of Supervisors prioritize budgeting county resources toward the completion of that facility.
15 seconds, ma'am.
Okay, for the benefit of everyone, from babies and young kids learning to swim, youth and teens on the summer and school swim teams, and families and older people looking for a safe place to exercise.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to mess this completely up. Niali
Nalia.
Plasky?
She might-
She is not here tonight, but she was.
Okay, okay, perfect. Thank
How
you.
about Elizabeth Kleinman?
Yeah, Elizabeth Kleinman?
Kleinman? No? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
No, that's fine,
That's all-
perfect.
that's all the cards
All
I
right,
have.
so I have no other cards for public comment. Is there anyone else that would wish to address the board tonight on any subject that's not a public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment and come back to the board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Megan Shaw.
Oh, we do have one, I'm sorry. Megan Shaw.
She's not here yet, I don't think.
All right, well, we'll put that into the public record. Next, under information discussion items, first is our quarterly update from VDOT presented by Willie Gordon.
Mr. Gordon.
Good to see you, sir.
Board members, how y'all doing?
Good.
All right. Where you want to start? Doesn't matter.
Wherever you want, sir.
All right. We got a rural rustics on Coleman Lane has been completed. They completed June 4th. So everything's done there. The ditching, all the boom action to trim the trees up and tar and chip the road. That's all completely done. Route 1046 Pine Ridge Road, right up here, right over here in Louisa. They're going to start July 8th. They're going to tar and chip it. Everything's been done there. They ditched it, put in new pipe, culvert pipes, and everything there. We did pothole patching we did 90 pothole patches this month on Route 622, 601, 606, 612, 652, 522, and 35. The ditching complete on 652, if y'all been out there and seen that. That was a total of 58,909 linear feet of ditching. And we'll be on regardless of 652, since I'm on that, we're scheduled to start paving on that Wednesday, and we'll finish on the 28th of this month. You got 6 trees removed in Louisa that were danger to the public. Shoulder repair on 616. Did 4 cubic yards of debris removal on Route 604 and 716 and 1302. Graded the roads on Route 647, 683. And 40% of the primaries are cut so far in Louisa on the primaries, and we got 75% of the secondaries cut in Louisa. Will be done by the end of next week with all the mowing.
And some hayfields.
So we mowed a total of 185 acres so far. Updates I have for projects we are going on. The roundabout at Dixon Store is on schedule for December 5th, but look like they're gonna finish up a little early, weather dependent and materials. So it might finish early, fingers crossed. We have a meeting for the Hamilton Road Bridge project next month. That's all I have so far.
Anybody have
Question.
any questions for Mr. Gordon? Mr. Barnes?
Ms. Gordon, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Are you all behind on cutting grass?
Shouldn't even be done next week.
No,
That's what he just said.
No,
Yeah, he just said that. He just said he gonna be done.
He ain't done where I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Mallory Road. You know where that at?
Yeah, we'll be on that tomorrow.
All right, good. Hold on. Mallory Road and 208.
Yes. That's for the primary. On 208, the contractor, his truck had a freak accident where it exploded. The power steering lines and everything exploded. So he's in the shop. So he was actually behind 2 days, but he started back today with his personal truck.
Okay.
Blowing. So
Those are
Good
the
to
two
go.
roads I had.
yeah.
I got one
Next
for your
week, he done
district.
next week.
I got one for your district.
All right, anybody, hold on, we're gonna keep order here. Mr. Woodward?
Mr. Gordon, I had a discussion with Mr. Thornton last week, and he was telling me about, this is in Chairman District, but Chopping Road.
Yes.
Can you tell us, what's that called that y'all are doing there, adding to this
Trench widening.
trench widening?
Yes.
Yeah.
That gives you the vehicle more room to drive on in case somebody overcorrects or something. It gives them a little bit more pavement instead of just typical 13 or 12-foot lane and then a drop off and then a ditch.
Right.
So
Yeah. And so I had to drive through there the next day.
yes,
Didn't have to, but I did.
you wanted to.
And it's pretty amazing
Yes.
how much wider that made that road.
Suitable for trucks.
Yeah, yeah. It's, well, I don't know about that, but it's definitely a help.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Now, two comments, and I'll go to Mr. Barlow. There was, we do have still a resolution on a through truck restriction that we'd like to get something from Transportation Safety Board on Chopping Road. And there was a pretty bad pedestrian accident on Chopping Road last Friday evening. A gentleman had to be flown out. He was walking along the side of the road. And then I would point out that Mr. Woodward does like to randomly drive through the Mineral District because of its scenic beauty, so we appreciate that.
That is correct. sir.
Yes, yes. Mr. Barlow.
I believe Rachel. Well, that's fine. I was just gonna make a
No, I'm working
comment
my way around.
to Mr. Gordon.
Yes, sir.
I certainly appreciate you following up with the little incident that I had with the grass cutting crews, and
Yeah.
I think if you expressed to me there was some protocols going to be put in place.
Correct.
And anyway, I did call VDOT, and you all followed up, and I appreciate that.
That's no problem. Just to make aware, for any mowing we have for Louisa, we're gonna have a pre-con with our contractors to ride the routes with them, show them any questions they have and the limits or anything like that we won't have any issues or anything.
Mr. Jones.
And Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
just two things. One,
Used to me.
Yes, good idea. When will you be starting the project, the maintenance on 15 from Zions to Gordonsville? I thought it was supposed to be June, and I guess it's been set back a little bit. I just have constituents who keep asking.
I have to follow back up on you that. There's still some stuff we got to work out, like some right of entries and stuff, and getting
Okay.
access to people properties that the right of way phase is taking much longer than what was anticipated.
That's all
for the
I need to
schedule.
know.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you on that.
No, that's fine, as long as a time frame would be great, but if you can't give it, that's fine, as long as I know it's in the works. Also, one little thing that's actually, it kind of falls right there at the edge of my district and Supervisor Barnes's district. 250 and 15, there's a little medium right there in front of the Crescent Inn, and
Ew.
the grass is so high. Is that Flavanna or is that you guys?
That'll be Fluvanna, but they'll be
They'll be taking care of that?
You
Okay.
said 15 and
Yeah, 250, right there. It's actually our district, as far as Board of Supervisors go, right
Yeah,
there. It's
we can get
still
that knocked out at the
Louisa.
intersection.
Yeah, it's been tall. Yep, I think that's about it for me.
okay.
Mr. McConnell?
I do have a few questions for our esteemed representative, which I'm so happy to see you. And I miss Scott because you guys are very responsive, and that's the key to working with government is communication, and you guys are great at that. So thank you for that. That being said, I do have a couple of questions that constituents have for me to ask you. You answered the one about Kentucky Springs. Thank you. It looks like we're going to be having paving completed on the 28th, which is wonderful. The other questions would be the traffic circle. Are there any plans for the interior of the traffic circle? The roundabout?
Yeah, I have to get back to you. I haven't looked at the plans in a while because I've been doing other projects.
Sure.
But I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'll check back and I can email you back. I believe it's small landscaping
Okay.
in the middle.
Yeah, I'd like to understand the whole process to get that done and where it is right now, because it's a really good opportunity for a gateway to the lake and to Louisa County. So we may want to do something more than just simple landscaping if it's permissible. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
With the start of the Lake Anna Technology Center, right there at the intersection of Kentucky Springs and Johnson, do you anticipate any type of traffic issues there?
No, we looked at we actually looked at the plans and I looked at it again before I came here. With their traffic projection and where the construction entrance is, it's not going to have any impacts at all. And if they do have impacts, we can address them in the field.
Understood. How are you all doing with Louisa Clean? This is the group of volunteers that are working to pick up litter along the roads. Is that the relationship working out, or is there better ways for them to work with you all? Or?
We actually met with them 2 weeks ago, and it's working out pretty well. We'd have schedule change since we got the mowing and litter pickup and all that stuff. We're doing litter pickup every day, bag pickup every day from them. So now we're not doing every day. It's going to be weekly and bi-weekly. It depends on our workload, but we had a point of contact for them to let them know.
Great. That's a good thing. They're really zealous about what they're doing, and it's great that you all are supporting them. Thank you. The intersection of 652 and Johnson Road, let's just revisit that, as well as the intersection of 652 and Route 208. What is the procedure that we would initiate to plan for the future? Or maybe there already is one. We have a roundabout now at Weir's Crossroads, because that was obviously times had changed. That needed to change with the times.
Correct.
Those two intersections, looking down the road, 5, 10, 15 years, they will need to change, I would think, too. But I'm not a VDOT engineer. I just didn't know what the process was to begin those.
First of all,
Examination.
VDOT will look at the crash data and everything for that intersection and try to find the best solution for that intersection. For, you said 652 and 208, or?
As well as 652 and Johnson.
Yeah, 652 and 208. I know that ranked real low on the smart scale project. So we're going to have this summer we're going to have a project funding for the county at VDOT at the residency. So we'll send you an invite for it. I suggest you come to the meeting. So we're going to have projects that scored low in the smart scale. Find different ways to fund it, like through CSOI or through revenue sharing projects or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, parking at the bridges, the Mill Pond Bridge and the Elk Creek Bridge, there's a lot of people that will park on private property along there because there's no parking signs there to, access the lake, whether it be fishing or whatever they're doing. Is there a way that we can communicate how to get no parking signs up in those sections?
Oh, you can just put them up. No, I was messing with you.
That's a good one. That's good. I'm gonna employ that one here soon. You can just put them up. I got you. Yeah, I heard it. You just put them up. I like this
Which
guy.
was that
So
easy?
you can put the request in, and we can look at it, and then we can meet out and see if it needs to get put in or not. Because sometimes, like, you put in no parking signs, and
I'll get some signs.
it won't get paid for. So, I mean, it won't not get paid for. It won't get paid attention to. A lot of it, you can just little police presence in the area to get it around, or private property plaque. But we can look into it. Just send a request in.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon.
Mr. Williams?
I just want to thank you for doing a good job of keeping the Jackson District looking sweet by your mowing and keeping the roads clean. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Goodwin?
Just want to give you an accolade, Mr. Gordon. I reported 2 potholes in the online system that VDOT uses for pothole reporting, and it didn't use my position or my name or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they were addressed. They were on one of the county's smaller back roads, and they were addressed within a week. So that's the
That's a good
second
sign.
time I've used that system. And if your constituents, board members, are looking for a great way to report issues, that's a good one. So that's number one. And Chris, in response to your suggestion about the gateway, I have spoken with Scott about that a little bit. I think VDOT takes a dim view of anything that has any height in the center of circles because they want people to be able to see through the circle as they're coming to it so that they can see oncoming traffic. However, the county did request that VDOT install a conduit to the center of the circles so that if we needed to use electricity to light something low and unobtrusive
Correct.
there, that we might be able to do that. So I'm hopeful that that option is open going forward in the future.
Yeah,
That
I'll
helps you.
follow back up on that. I just
Yes,
talked
sir.
to the project manager.
Anybody else? Mr. Gordon, I have 2 things real quick.
Okay.
And you touched on part of it, the litter pickup during mowing. Do you happen to know by chance how much litter your contractors picked up? And I think that would have been mostly primary roads. Do you happen to know how many bags?
I can definitely get that to you
If you
tomorrow.
can
Yeah,
get
we have
that,
a bag count.
yes, sir. I'd like to share that because Mr. McCotter touched on Louisa Clean. We have a work group that's working on litter issues in the county, so I'd actually like to know that. Then secondly, you also mentioned the roundabout at Ware's Crossroads. To your knowledge, since the roundabout has been operational, which was about a week before Memorial Day, and the signage has gotten better, the striping has gotten better, and as it comes along, has there been any accidents there?
No. Not that I know of.
I didn't think so. I wasn't aware of
Yes.
any either.
And I know about all of them, haven't had none. We actually had work orders that come in just saying thank you for the traffic configuration.
Wow.
So it was nothing
I went
bad.
through it
Nothing
today, it's
bad.
nice.
It was all positive so far.
My wife and I came through it Memorial Day weekend, coming from Mineral, so we were going north on 522. And when we got to Chopping Road, I was driving, just make that clear. So I asked her, I said, start the stopwatch on your phone. We were the 11th car in line. We were through the roundabout and continuing on 522 north in 17 seconds.
Oh, that's nice.
So it seems to,
Slow down.
but we went straight through. That's why they don't have anything in the middle, so you can go straight through.
Sheriff's office, get write some
No,
tickets up
no,
there.
it really has,
Speed through the roundabout.
Yes.
increased the movement of the traffic. And, you know, and I will give you props. I had talked to Mr. Thornton right before Memorial Day, the lines that you had painted, especially going into Dickinson Store,
Correct.
coming up 208, I guess that's west on 208, were a little confusing. But that's been, and I know that was temporary.
Correct.
But that's been relined. It's much easier now. So, and I didn't think there'd been any accidents. So,
Yeah.
thank you all for what you're doing out there.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
Next is a presentation by the Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation. Kim Hyland. Kim?
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
For the record, I'm Kim Hyland, the Executive Director of the Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation. I'm going to give you something to pass around just so that you all can see it better.
Your clicker is right.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Should be right to that arrow. Take one of these and hose I can keep.
I'm here tonight to give you guys a quick update on the progress of the Housing Foundation project on Resource Lane, and also to discuss some funding opportunities with all of you. As a quick refresh, it's 25 units for seniors and workforce personnel who are already in the county. The total approximate cost is $4.2 million. We have already identified funding for over $1.5 million. I'm very excited because I'm here tonight to discuss some funding opportunities for us through DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development. They have CDBG money, which I know you guys are familiar with. We have received CDBG Community Development Block Grant money before for rehabbing homes in 2013. We did about 10 homes. This is a different part of it. It's for community development. If there are 2 activities going on in the community, you can get up to $1.5 million. If there are 3 activities, we can get $1,750,000. So activities would be housing, construction, infrastructure, water and sewer, those types of things. So those types of combinations. Quick refresh, we had to redraw our concept plan ever so slightly to shift things. We had some wetlands delineations that we had to work around, but we were able to fit all of the units in there. So there is a courtyard of 8 one-bedroom units modeled on our Evergreen facility, another courtyard of 8 one-bedroom senior units, and then 9 single-family two-bedroom units. So it looks very similar to what you've seen. I just thought it would be helpful for you guys to see a little bit of an updated plan. Our current status is, you guys know we've already rezoned it to R2 with CUP. We got the railroad agreement, so we're very excited about that. The next step will be to get it, it's in with the attorneys. We're going to get that signed and back to them. So there's some things that we would like some clarification on. I'm sure it will be, this is what you get, but we'll proceed from there. We have engaged RK&K Engineering for our final design, and we passed Tom Eglund on our way in, and the final submission was made tonight. So Tom was not real happy because he's leaving for vacation. So. But he said he'll get that. He doesn't want it to wait on him, so he's going to get everything started for the rounds. We've gone through our environmental review, Department of Historic Resources. We have all the home funds that are committed. You guys voted on home ARP funds going to this project. We have identified a modular home builder, and we're in final design stages with them for the initial portion. We hope to use them throughout, but we'll go through the county protocol for bidding these out if we get CDBG funds. We hired an operations manager to oversee the construction sites who's here with us tonight. If you have all not had the opportunity, Andrea Madison joined us in February, and she has a wonderful background. She actually is an AICP, American Institute of Certified Planners. So when Josh left, I was a little worried. But she's very happy working for the Housing Foundation. So as I said, we submitted the site plan. Next, now we're ready for the county, VDOT, DEQ, Water Authority, VDH, Army Corps of Engineers, Wildlife, Fish and Wildlife. We've got a whole bunch of people who need to go through this. So we're estimating about 6 to 8 months. We're going to put the pressure on everybody to get it moving forward as quickly as possible.
I'd like to know if that works for VDOT, DEQ, the Health Department, the Army Corps, and the Fish and Wildlife Services. Putting the pressure on works. I'd just be curious how
right?
follow up with me on that one. Let me know.
I thought I was going to have
I get it. I'd just be curious if it works.
We're just gonna keep calling and making sure it's moving forward. We'll be getting wetlands disturbance permits because there is a 0.3 acre wetlands disturbance in order to fit all of that into the plan that we currently have. So next, we also need to identify our final funding sources. So that's what I'm going to review with all of you. And we do need to do another environmental assessment. So 6 to 8 months, just to give you guys a timeline. We have the major site plan review and approval process, permitting. We'll go through the procurement process for site clearing, bids for water and sewer work, and for the modular homes. And then we're hoping to commence site work by the end of the year. 2025, we're expecting to build and occupy our first senior units and build out the workforce units. So this is providing everything goes through smoothly. I'd like to get the certificate of occupancy for the workforce units before the end of next year, and commence our final senior units. So I told you that we've secured about $1.5 million worth of funding. So road and infrastructure is sort of our next big gap to overcome. It's easier for us to find housing infrastructure money, but more difficult to find road and infrastructure. Of course, we have the water and sewer funds. So that's, right now, the budget's right under $4.2 million. So this is why I handed you guys the budget sheets. There are two options, as I showed you early on, one for $1.5 million for CDBG funds and one for 1.75. I outlined it on here. This is my consolidated version of the budget, so it's really not as bad as it looks. Down the left-hand side is the total budget for the project, and then identified by different funding sources in the green. So those are already committed funds. The yellow is what we are hoping to have DHCD CDBG funding for. This particular, the first one here is for the if we are able to get $1,750,000, we need to have 3 activities. So the $775,000 Ferncliff funds will not completely cover likely the water and sewer. So there will be some additional funding sources required for that. Site work and road construction would be another activity. And then we would pretty much be able to build out all of the 2-bedroom units for the workforce with the remaining balance of the funds. If we did $1.5 million, very similar, but we'll have it won't build out quite as many units quite as quickly. So we'll have a few obviously $250,000 less. There is admin funds in here. So about 10% can be utilized for admin funds. So we can utilize that for both the county and for the Housing Foundation to help support ourselves. There is no match for the county. There is no outlay of funds. There's utilizing some time from Ms. Colvin and from Mr. Kuhn. We will be able to access the application through DHCD's CAMS portal, which we already use to access some home improvement funding called eHARP. So we're already familiar with the DHCD application process. Whoops, I do this every time. There we go, okay. I should have forwarded that. So if we don't get CDBG funds, it will just lengthen our timeline for completion of the project. We are exploring additional funding options concurrently. So if something else with less paperwork comes up, if we get a private donor, that would be just wonderful. We're not letting off the gas in that area. That would just help us to complete the project more quickly. CDBG may be paired with home funds, so we've already cleared that those two can be combined. No match for the county. And the reason I'm in front of you is we do need permission from the Board of Supervisors to apply to this grant. We need cooperation from the county. The county must be the applicant. We are the subrecipient, and we can do the majority of the work that's required on this, but we do need you all to approve us applying for these funds. Let's see. We had to pull together a project management team, which is pretty much everybody who's already been involved in this. So it'll be Andrea and myself, Wanda Colvin and Chris Kuhn. Lori Jean Talloon may be involved from TJPDC. Jeff Martin has joined our board and is a general contractor. Joe Griffith has been doing grants management. She got the $300,000 water and sewer, and Judy Bellamini. Malachi Mills is our engineer with RK&K, so many of you may know Mr. Mills. And Tom Eglund, of course, from Louisa County Planning. And I'm sure Linda will be involved as well. The timeline, we would like to prepare for a fall submission. DHCD did a revamp of their project, so they weren't very good about getting back to us and getting us the information we needed in time to apply for the spring round. But we are expecting there's a chance they're going to open up for the fall. Otherwise, it will be next spring before they release new funding. So my request is that the Louisa County Board of Supervisors approve our application to DHCD's CDBG program.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve this CDBG funding application for the Savannah Louisa Housing Foundation. Is there any discussion or comments?
Briefly, not to hold it up, if my math is correct, and it may not be correct, my dad say I ain't going no further than third grade, so I don't know. But it come up to $168,000 per unit if this is built out according to your budget.
But yes,
So that's unbelievable.
right.
That is.
$168,000 per house.
And we are actually hoping to involve more of local, local businesses that will donate services, appliances perhaps. We'll be approaching larger stores in the area.
Commend you on that. $168,000 per house is unbelievable. Amen.
Keeping that number down, and high quality.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you all.
Kim.
We appreciate your
Thank you for
support.
everything.
Next is a discussion of the 2024 summer meeting schedule, presented by Mr. Goodwin and myself. You want me to go? You want to go?
The board has traditionally only held one meeting during the months of July and August, and it is pleasure of staff to do whatever the board would like to do in terms of scheduling secondary July and August meetings.
So I think when we passed our original schedule at the beginning of the year, we included July 15th and August the 19th.
Yes, sir.
So
I won't be here on the 15th.
I think we're going to need a motion to remove those. And Mr. Barnes, did you have a change?
You got another concern, Mr. Williams?
I won't be on the 15th of July. I'll be in Wyoming.
Well, that's why we're canceling the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
For me.
Did you,
Just for you.
did you have another one, Mr. Barnes?
Yes, sir. Also, I'd like to move our December 16th meeting to the 23rd.
All right.
Ooh, that's so
Hey,
close
guys.
to Christmas.
Santa Claus know who y'all are.
Yeah.
But I need to prepare for him, and that's awful close, bro.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
All right.
You guys separate them from me. I can't.
Yeah, that week, I don't even know if I'll be in town that
You can
week.
cancel and just have one in December if you want, but not on the 23rd.
Well, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fine with me.
that's fine with me.
We could do this,
need a
we
second
could,
meeting
no,
in
the
December?
30th, that's hard, that's.
No, we don't.
To the
Cause school budget.
Let's get another meeting in
One meeting in
December.
December?
Yeah, probably December, January,
Why don't you change your motion to cancel the second meeting in December, and I'll get behind that one.
All right, I'm fine with that.
All right. So the motion is to remove the July 15th meeting, the August 19th meeting, and the December 16th meeting from the published schedule. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1.
All right.
Meeting date, July the
I'm not
15th,
meeting on the 23rd.
15th, the 19th, or
August 19th.
Festivals in the town.
August 19th.
I have to have time.
And just to follow up with this, as Mr. Goodwin mentioned, since I've been on the board, probably since Mr. Barnes has been on the board, we typically don't have that meeting. So next year, administratively, Mrs. Stanley and I have spoke, when we present the calendar to the board next year, those two dates will automatically be taken out so that we don't have to come and do this.
Can
So-
I ask a question?
Sure.
What did we set the July meeting for?
Just the first.
We just, the first Mondays.
July
The first
We
Monday,
didn't
July
change it, we
1st.
just took out the third Mondays of that.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Moved the 15th of July, August the 19th, and 12/16. All right, so
And August the 19th?
19th.
Okay,
19th.
perfect.
All right.
No, we got new business.
New
action
business act, no, we have a lot. New business action items, we got a couple things here. The first is a resolution authorizing a budget supplement in fiscal year 2024 for the broadband initial capital project from consent to new business, so it would be the budget supplement. Mrs. Colvin.
Yes, and this is an add to the agenda more than a
move. It was an add and a move. So this is a budget supplement, moving the broadband capital project funding that was approved in '25 to fiscal year '24. The project's progressing quicker, so the funding, y'all approved it over a 3-year period. But in order to complete the payments to them for May and June, I need some more funding moved from the '25 into the '24 budget. So what I'm requesting is we add the money into '24 and we will deappropriate the money in '25.
So move.
Second.
So just a question, just a follow-up. So the reason that we're doing this is the project's moving quicker than we thought it was going to be moving, so we're connecting more people to fiber.
Yeah.
So this is a positive.
It's positive.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I guess you should stay right there. A resolution authorizing fiscal year '24 budget supplement for Louisa County Public Schools.
This is a request for fiscal year '25 budget supplement for the schools. When we built the budget had it adopted in April, we did not have final state numbers or final needs based on those state numbers for the schools. We have now received them and gone through the budgets and looked at the enrollment and things like that for the year. And so what we need now is we will need a budget supplement for $1,024,233. This includes the revenue changes, its reduction of $485,000 approximately to the revenues, as well as so we can add additional teachers for special ed in kindergarten and sped needs and some other teacher training in that. So the funding for the additional needs would come from the school's long-term capital reserves, and the funding from the revenue shortfall would come from general fund balance.
Move approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Since this is a school vote, does anybody have anything they'd like to?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm employee of the school. This vote does not affect me, but I would just make a knowledge that I am employed.
Yep, and the same here. I'm an employee of the schools. This does not affect me in any personal way.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Before you step away, the board, I want to publicly compliment you on something. You know, the Finance Committee talked about this several times. We talked about this when we passed the original budget. Because the General Assembly did not do their job on time, there was...
It's not December.
Yeah, it's not December, so...
December.
But I want to publicly acknowledge, Ms. Colvin spent a tremendous amount of time trying to figure out what she thought our revenue was going to be from the state. And I believe, let's put this in perspective, the schools are somewhere around $70 million of our budget total. 88 million. She was off by $500,000.
Less than that.
Off.
So
45, wasn't it?
I just want to publicly say, thank
no
you.
red. Thank you.
No pressure, no pressure for next year, but you did a great job with that, so thank you. Next is a resolution for a motion to reconsider action taken on June 3rd, 2024 to amend Chapter 86 Land Development Regulations, which is utility scale solar generation total land area. Mr. Woodward.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Since I was on the prevailing side, I move to reconsider action taken on June 3rd, 2024 to amend Chapter 86 Land Development Regulations, utility scale solar energy generation total land area.
Is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
All right. So before we go any further for discussion, I do want to explain the parliamentary procedure of what we're doing here. So at the last meeting, there was this resolution to lower the solar cap from 3 to 2. That motion failed, 4 to 3. Mr. Woodward was on the prevailing side. He's now asked for that to be reconsidered. So we're going to have to take 2 votes here. The first vote will be, do we want to reconsider the motion at all, which would require a 2/3 vote of the board to reconsider, because according to our bylaws, I've never felt the lawyer stare so hard at me as he is right now, according to our bylaws, since this has not been advertised, it requires a 2/3 vote for us to actually do the reconsideration. If it had been advertised, it would just be a simple majority, correct?
That is correct, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, so it has been properly moved and seconded that we vote to reconsider. I'm going to ask Mrs. Stanley for a roll call. If my math is correct, we need a minimum of 5 yes votes to reconsider. Mrs. Stanley?
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Mr. McCotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Mr. Barlow?
No,
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
All right, so the motion to reconsider passes 5-2. Then the next resolution would be a resolution to actually amend Section 86-45 to reduce the total approved utility solar scale generation facilities not to exceed 2% of the land mass, which is 6,343 acres of the total county acreage. The chair will entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we would approve this resolution. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to request a roll call.
All right. And I would,
And for clarity, this is by simple majority.
yes, this was just a simple majority vote. I would also like to just add, unless somebody else has any comment. I was not on the prevailing side the last time, so I think I may be this time. But I do think that this is a good opportunity, as we hear our citizens talking about wanting to preserve the rural nature of the county, that the board is being responsive to that concern, while the board still continues to make Louisa County a leader in energy generation in the Commonwealth. So I really think that this is the board being very responsive to our citizens. Mrs. Stanley? Yeah, sorry, Mr. Williams.
I'd just like to say that I think it's okay just to say no to these people when they show up, and you don't have to have a cap to say no. So, and I'm gonna stick right where I was.
All right.
Mr.
Anybody
Chairman?
else?
Yes.
Yes, Mr.
I would like to ask Supervisor Woodward, you have made the motion to reconsider.
Mr. McConnell, use the microphone.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chairman. You made the motion to reconsider, Supervisor Woodward. I respect that, and I think that shows true leadership, and I would like to know perhaps somewhat of an explanation as to why you made that motion.
Well, thank you, Supervisor McCotter. I just feel like, in kind of going over in the last 2 weeks what took place, I feel we have 2 large solar projects that are already approved. They're just waiting for whatever, permitting or whatever. And I feel like that we as a county need to see those projects move forward and get to a lot closer to even being completed before we look at doing any other large projects in the county. And I think this is one way for us to approach that.
Any other
Thank you.
comments?
I would just like to say, after consideration over the last couple of weeks, I also have, I think it was talked about during public hearing that I think that we owe it to our citizens to make sure that we get it right and that we don't have runoff and we don't have issues that cause our adjoining landowners significant harm to their land, and that we stand behind them also and make sure that we have protections for all involved.
Any other comments, Mr. Barlow?
I didn't vote for this initially, so I'm going to stick with what I had done. Since we started talking about the cap, we have implemented procedures so that those things, with the tremendous runoff and stuff, should not happen again. But irregardless, I felt like we have landowners out there that want to be able to do with what they can with their land. And I do think that we still have the right to review these projects and put what restrictions we want on them. So with that in mind, that was the reason I voted to keep the cap at 3% last time, and I will follow suit again this time.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Stanley?
Mr. McCotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Mr. Barlow?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Any reports?
Next is committee reports. Mr. Woodward, I believe you have some committee reports.
Yes, sir, I do. First one I'd like to report on is the Water Authority, and just wanted to let everybody know they had their public hearing in this room last week, and the turnout was, I'm not sure what I was supposed to expect, but I expected a large turnout, and it was anything but. They probably had 6 speakers, had more mail-ins than that. But anyway, they had advertised a 24% increase. What they chose to go with was a 20% increase for 25. That should, on paper, right now, it gives them a little bit of being in the black, but not much. What that department goes through in expenses, particularly with inflation included in, is unbelievable. So anyway, that's the Water Authority. I would like to add, it is very impressive. If any of y'all ever get a chance to come to one of their monthly meetings, they have an awesome board. They really do. It's some really good people on that board. So anyway, Commission on Aging meets once a month. They have decided at the June meeting to not meet in July because they meet on Wednesday. I think 4th of July is on Thursday, so it was kind of a good month to maybe not have a meeting. They're going to meet in August. Chairman Adams has kindly agreed to come to that meeting, so hopefully we can have a good discussion there. And then they've chosen to take the rest of the year off and just take a little breather from meetings and come back after the first of the year and hopefully do some reorganizing. So it was probably the most positive Commission on Aging meeting that I've been to since the first of the year, since I've been on there. I will say that the new appointee from the Green Springs District was, unfortunately, it was his first meeting, but I think he's going to be an awesome addition, as well as the Mountain Road District, new commissioner, same thing. I think he's going to be outstanding. So I think it's a lot of positives moving along. Still have a ways to go, but I think we're going to get things moving on a better path.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Ms. Jones?
I'd just like to talk about Jaunt. I attend their monthly meetings, and I know in the past that we've had some concerns about Jaunt, and not just our county. Other counties that use those, Jaunt also have had some concerns. And I just want to tell you, whatever you had, you need to put them in the past. Their new CEO director is Mike Murphy. He is phenomenal. He has rallied that organization. He is on point. The board is back cohesive. They're on point. I really think that Jaunt is really rallied, and moving forward, any issues we have, we will not have. And they are here to serve the community and do what it takes to do that. I've been very impressed with this new board and with their new director, very impressed. And in fact, I told them in the last meeting I was a little hesitant and nervous to step on this. I had heard some stories, but this is one of my favorite committees and boards to sit on right now. So.
Thank you. Mr. McConnell?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would like to report on the Lake Anna Advisory Committee, and then just briefly on the Litter Advisory Group. Lake Anna Advisory Committee, we have the HAB, known as Harmful Algae Phosphorus Reduction Program reduction. That began today. We have actually process underway that is introducing 2 separate materials, one into the North Anna, one into Terry's Run, to reduce phosphorus. That again began today.
So it didn't happen before?
No, sir.
Okay.
The hydrologist survey for the LAC, that begins on July 8th, with treatment scheduled for one place in Pigeon Run in August, by the middle of August. We also secured a new area for all the hazard buoys. Anna Point Marina has donated, our neighbors in Spotsylvania County has donated a boat shed for us to do that. This is very important, since the people who were storing those buoys have now retired from that duty, and that they will be recognized for doing an incredible job. So we have secured new buoy storage to administer the entire buoy system on Lake Anna. Also, the New Bridge water and sewer buoys for the no boat area, those were installed, I think, about two and a half weeks ago. So that was something that the county and Lake Anna Advisory Committee worked together with. Litter Advisory Group work meets Thursday at 4 p.m. We will discuss survey results, and I'm happy to say that Green Springs has pulled ahead in the litter survey response tally.
Yeah.
That concludes my reports.
Any other committee reports? Yes, sir.
James River Water Authority Board met again last week. Mr. Barlow and I serve on that. We're very fortunate to have his leadership on JRWA and the project now moving forward under construction. I mean, it is.
Getting it done. Tommy Barlow getting it done.
But it was
The
nice.
pipeline after you.
Credit goes
Barlow
to,
pipeline.
no, call it the Eric Purcell pipeline.
It was nice to be getting construction updates during the meeting, which we got to see some drone footage of the pipeline route. A lot of clearing responsibly done down there and pipe installed, a lot of pipe in the storage yard that has been delivered. We got that at a more reasonable cost because we were able to pre-order it. Moving forward with that, I hope to finalize the treatment plan here in the coming months. That treatment plan will enable us to work, if we do find any archaeological findings in the Phase 3 work, which takes place concurrently with construction. The treatment plan is intended to allow us to move through those findings efficiently and without holding the project up. So we're working through that. And yeah, it's fun to see the project moving forward, and I'm glad to be working with Tommy on it.
All right, anybody else? I have one, just a quick update from the Central Virginia Regional Jail Authority meeting. I serve on that as a liaison along with the sheriff. It comes up quite often in the vein of litter and that sort of thing about work details from the jail. Came up again at the last meeting last week. Just something interesting so you understand that will probably not be a source of litter pickup. Right now, the jail has over 330 felons in the jail and 40 people with misdemeanor sentences. It takes about 45 to 50 misdemeanor offenders to act as trustees. So there are not even enough misdemeanor offenders in the jail to totally fill their trustees. So obviously the folks that have the felony convictions, we talked about those, I'm not going to go into detail about some of those offenses, are not people that we would really want to be on the side of our street. So it is not really going to be a source of labor force for us through this summer. So, all right, now we'll move on to board appointments. Do we have any board appointments? I don't have any. Does anybody have board appointments? County Administrator's Report, Mr. Goodwin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, very briefly, your monthly reports for the month of May are included in my report. I talked about the JRWA already. With the heat this week, we are looking at opening some cooling centers. In years past, we've opened up full-on dedicated cooling centers, like almost a scaled-down emergency shelter. Those are inefficient to open, and we haven't gotten a lot of use. What we are looking at doing this time is smaller, more targeted cooling center operations in places like the lobby and conference rooms at Human Services, areas like that in within our assets, but then also working with some churches in the community to open up just cooling centers that will be open in the hours of the afternoon when the heat is the highest. Very lightly manned and just water there for folks who want to stop by and cool off for a little while. So more to come on that, and glad to be doing that for the community. And just a reminder that the County Ag Fair will be July the 25th through 27th. So put that on your calendars. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Barnes.
Mr. Goodwin.
Yes, sir.
Can you also check with social services? They used to have a program where they, during this kind of period, they would give away, if you qualified, air conditioners.
Sure.
And so, can you make sure if that's the case?
Sure.
That we get the information out that people can get air conditioning is available, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Ms. Goodwin. All right, we do have two public hearings tonight. The first is a resolution authorizing the public sale of real property commonly known as 3949 Three Notch Road, Louisa. Mr. Goodwin.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is a public hearing to consider authorizing the public sale of property in the Patrick Henry District. You noted the address at 3949 Three Notch Road. It's also known as parcel number 67-2-D. It is in the Patrick Henry District. It's 13.313 acres, valued at just under, or assessed at just under $52,000. It is adjacent to a pump station, a smaller pump station lot in the Ferncliff area, used for some water authority infrastructure. And this would just be authorizing staff to publicize the fact that that would be for sale, and we would accept sealed bids and provide a date in late July that those sealed bids would be due. We would open those bids and bring forth action to you and the results of those bids for your consideration as to whether or not you would actually want to sell it. So happy to answer any questions you have and recommend approval.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Barnes.
I haven't talked to Mr. Goodman, so Mr. Goodman, I apologize before.
That's all right. That's all right.
This piece of property in the past has been controversial about what the intent or whatever. I would like to see, I don't know what the regulations are, that we allow a verbal purchase. You know, where we had two people show up or whatever, you know, a bid process versus a sealed bid.
That's up to the board. The sealed bid was what you used in the, in Reedy Creek.
Yeah, right. But being that it's probably been so a point of contention that it would be more visible for people, or, you know, out front. It'd be more up front.
Okay.
If me and Mr. Adams was there and I said $2, he said $3, and the county probably get more for it.
Can I ask a question?
Ms.
Can you
Jones.
explain, because I'm new and I haven't been here for sealed bids or verbal bid, is this like an auction? We would auction the property off? Can someone explain to me?
Traditionally, what we've done is you just put a price in, and we take the half price, whatever.
But you're talking about an in-person bidding.
In-person bidding.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Set a, I assume you would set a minimum
Right. You
bid,
still,
and,
right.
Mr. McConnell.
Supervisor Barnes, you use the word contention. Can you describe why this process has been contentious?
Yeah, I'm not going to explain that today. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying I want to be more transparent.
That makes sense.
And that's, I probably used the wrong word, Supervisor McCall. I want to be more transparent on this piece of property.
Understood.
And I think, yes, sir, Mr. Barnum.
I do know
Oh,
that even with
thank
sealed
you.
bids, when we open them, they're opened and read in public. So anybody who puts a bid in, if they were here, that when we opened them in the public process, so if I put a bid in, you put a bid in, all three of our bids will be read publicly, even with the sealed bid, if that helps. And you know, it's not auctioning. GovDeals is kind of the online auctioning
Yeah.
format.
What is the property currently zoned, do you know?
I think it's A2.
I had it pulled up. Just a second. It is zoned A2.
A2.
But it's in an overlay growth area, isn't it?
I believe that it is.
It is.
It's a GOAD growth area.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Growth overlay. Well, I think Mr. Barnes may have a good point here that Rudy Creek was residential, that's all it could be
Right.
down there. There could be no other development. This may be a more lucrative asset to the county that, you know, if we dispose of it that way, it would bring more revenue into the county.
Good with me.
Mr. Chairman, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you agree?
I
If so,
If
all
it's
right,
at your
well, we have
district.
to have a public hearing. So any other comments? All right, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anybody here that wishes to discuss this resolution on this property? Okay.
Hold on.
No.
I saw her hand. Ms. Hart has something to say.
Hold on, sorry, okay.
Vicky Hart, Town of Louisa. I know you'll be shocked, but I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think the open bid process, you could record this and play it back.
We are. We're going to remind
Is
you of
the
it.
way to go, both for you and for the fact that you very well may get more money out of the deal for the county than you would via the sealed bid process. Having dealt with multiple contracts in my life, that typically works out that way. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was in shock. I just sitting here didn't.
Go ahead.
Is there anyone else who would wish to discuss this to the board? And all right, I'll close the public hearing. I guess you're looking for a motion to
We need a
approve
motion to
you-
authorize.
authorize and the
And a date, are you gonna set the date?
Can I look into making sure what the best way to accomplish what you want to do is
Okay.
before we set a date? So
Okay,
I guess
before we have
just.
a motion, Mr. Barlow.
Just have a question, and I know we've talked about this somewhat, but in our water line project, we're sure that that piece of land is not gonna be, or that we're not gonna need any additional part of it, around the, was the pump station we got right there?
Yes, sir.
So we're positive we're not gonna need any additional.
As I was finalizing this, and
That's a sewage pump station, isn't it?
it is, it's a force main pump station, and as I was finalizing this, we have asked this question, but it's always nice to come back around to it one more time, and I thought to myself, wow, this is very final. Oh, wait a second, the board is going to get another crack at this when we actually get bids. When we use this process, you will not, so I will make sure that I have checked that box, and I'll report back to you in writing
Reserve any
before.
easements or anything?
Yeah, I'll report back to you after I check on that.
And that's,
We can do that.
that's just what I was thinking about. You know, we've gone to all this trouble of acquiring the property and stuff.
Right.
To make darn sure it doesn't come back that we need some
Absolutely.
portion of it.
Absolutely.
Put it
Yeah, absolutely.
either.
We can get it.
To paraphrase Mr. Barlow, I finally got this thing moving. I don't want you guys to sell a piece of property and stop
Right,
it, so.
right. Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Barnes, do you have a motion?
Yes, sir, so move.
All right, so the motion is, you got the motion, the process, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next is an ordinance, proposed amendment to Chapter 10, Amusements and Entertainments, and Chapter 70, Taxation, specifically the Transit Occupancy Tax. Mr. Kuhn.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. What you have in front of you is basically a administrative update. These are processes and procedures that are already being used by the Commissioner of Revenue's office for the most part. Two changes of note is that this would change the frequency of reporting and collection from quarterly to monthly, which would be better for tracking. And one change we also added was the penalty and interest section. And I stand ready to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Kuhn? I have one, and I know, I see the commissioners here. So some of the short-term rentals that fall under this transit occupancy are managed by some of these platforms, Airbnb, Vrbo, all that sort of thing. So this would hold them responsible for the tax they collect, but I have read articles in the past, and I think it's Vrbo that just kind of snubs their nose at some of the localities and ends up sending a check and says, here it is, and we're not going to do any accounting or any true-up. I mean, how's that going to impact whatever we do?
The lawyer gets to go to work. The lawyer gets to go to work.
There is one organization that is adamant that the addresses and the fees for the individual addresses, I believe they say, is proprietary information, so that's why they don't have to share it. All the other organizations we have a good relationship with, and they work with us and give us that information. There's no indication that this change would affect that for any of the ones that don't do it the way they're supposed to, in my opinion, would continue operating the same way. And the ones that do it the way they're supposed to would probably continue just the same.
But this change would impact all of them that says that
The reporting-
when it's due.
The reporting would be monthly, yes, sir, instead of quarterly.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In the discount section of this ordinance, it's the way I read it is that the tax, in other words, there's a discount where you would get a discount of up to 5%. So if it's a 7% discount, is this, not discount, is the tax really 2% or 7%?
The tax is 7. So in this situation, if an individual owed $100 in transient occupancy tax and they paid on time, they would get 5% discount. So they would only have to pay $95 instead of the 100 if they paid on
Wouldn't be
time.
collecting 2%. They would get a discount of 5% of the total 7%.
5% of the 7.
Yes. Which is not 2%.
Well,
I get it.
if you go back
It's
and read it,
5% of the tax collected.
okay, it's not real
Not the
clear,
rate.
ain't that
Good question.
discount?
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
Mr. McCarty?
Mr. Kuhn, I'm reading in here, collection of tax by lodging establishments and reports and remittances. How are you all keeping track of the I guess these STRs to know that they owe a transient occupancy tax?
The Commissioner of Revenue's office have very good records. We actually did it where, when we were talking about the short-term rental regulations and everything a couple years back, there was a software where you could look up and find it, and I think they were within, it was like 10 or 15, and the only difference was the software counted, I think it was Shenandoah Crossing, as individual units opposed to one, how they did. So they were almost right on point with what the software had. So they keep very detailed records, and
They are, baby. They are.
Short-term rental also defined as less than 30 days, or what?
less than 30 days.
Okay, so over 30 days, nothing.
The Commissioner?
Thank you.
Stacy, even though we all know who you are, introduce yourself for the record.
I am Stacy Fletcher, the Commissioner of Revenue.
So that was, you were answering him, he was correct.
He is correct. Anything over 30 days is not
My-
taxed at the,
My last question, Mr. Chairman, would be, how are we communicating this to the people that we're collecting the taxes from? Are they going to read this in a media outlet, or are they actually communicated this new monthly collection
when
schedule?
and if this is passed, they will get correspondence individually from the Commissioner's office.
Understood.
And then also, just one point with this is, since we're collecting quarterly, they're going to actually, the next payment on the current schedule is going to be July 20th for the second quarter. So even if this goes into effect today, we have until August 20th to make sure we notify everybody that currently pays transient occupancy tax. So we have a significant amount of time for public engagement and education and letters and having everybody communicated with.
And fall kind of, the quarter will end, and then the monthly will pick up consecutively. It's not going to be like overlapping.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would wish to address the board on this public hearing? Ms. Hart? No? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Chair will entertain a motion.
move.
Chris?
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we adopt this proposed amendment. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Barnes?
Second.
Second.
Got to have a second.
on
Been
now,
properly
guys.
moved and seconded. We adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.